So, hello everyone, and we'll just give it a bit of time to see if people are jumping in. Always takes a few seconds for YouTube to stream, and I think we have some of our first viewers in there. So, hello, welcome everyone. It's fun to know for all of us to kind of see where you guys all are joining in from today. So, if you can let us know in the chat, happy to have that introduction and chat with you guys. I think you guys are based in Toronto, right, Jason?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
How's the weather over there?
It's actually okay. Today's a little warmer. We're 8 degrees today. So.
We're on the up.
We're on the up. I don't know what that is in American units, but it's probably, I don't know, 65 degrees or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Toronto is a nice place. How long have you guys been living there?
Oh, I born and raised. Angela?
Yeah, pretty much my whole life. I actually was born in Colombia, but I lived there for a very short period of my life. I'm more Canadian than Colombian, if anything. But yeah, you know, the weather is the only thing that kind of gets you down sometimes, but otherwise it's great.
Yeah. I see we have someone joining from Norway, which might be a bit the same range. And
yeah.
I think Toronto is a bit lower in my experience.
Yeah, it's a little bit lower. Yeah. What's the weather like in Norway right now?
Yeah, curious to hear from our users, like how Norway weathers. Like I'm based in the Netherlands myself. Over here it's unusually cold, but we're getting spring. We're getting flowers popping out of the ground. So we hit the 2-minute mark, and I think this is a good time to just start, also welcoming everyone. So hello everyone, and I'd love to know where you guys are all from. So let's have a little conversation in the chat to do that. My name is Johan Hanegraaf. I'm one of the co-founders of Arkio, and with me today are Jason Fung, founder and principal of Jason Fung Architects, and Angela Diaz. They're going to be telling us something about how they've been using Arkio, and yeah, we're really excited to have you guys on the show with us. So, like to start off with just giving the word to Jason. Like, can you tell something about yourself and about your firm?
Of course. I'm Jason Fung. I started my practice in 2016. We're a firm that does residential, commercial, institutional projects. We're a team of 5, Angela included. Angela has been with me for 5 years now. She is our resident Arkio genius in the firm. Has been using it the most out of all of us, and hence why she's here. But yeah, we love the high-end work. We love the fast commercials work. We'll almost work on anything as long as we have this skill base to do it. And I consider us pretty young. Most of my staff are in their 20s, and so we're trying to be at the cutting edge of what we do.
And that's really good to see. So are you specializing in any particular type of project or?
Not particularly. So we believe in diversity in our firm, like as project bases, as client bases, and as people. We're a very diverse group. And I believe in strength in the diversity of that. And actually that brings to Arkio that's like, we can use Arkio on a small residential project, and we can also use it on a high-end commercial project or institutional project or whatever it may be. So we do cross-platform a lot of our equipment and our tech across our many kind of project types. I will say, we have about 40 active projects at the moment at any given time. So it's quite a lot for the 5 of us. In active designs, about 15 projects in that zone. 15 active, 15 that are in construction, and then about 10 in development circles. Just kind of keeps
lots of stuff going on at the same time.
That's right. That's right.
What about you, Angela? What's your background and role at?
Yeah. So as Jason mentioned, I've been with the firm for about 5 years. I'm about to hit the 5-year mark next month. And yeah, I'm currently an intern architect, I would call here in Ontario, which means I'm working towards becoming an architect. And yeah, I've been using Arkio now for a bit longer than what we've been using it in the firm. I'd say probably 2.5 years I've been using it. And I've really enjoyed using it thus far, and that's kind of why I brought it to the firm. And I'm excited to just talk about it with you guys today and let people know what the capabilities of it is. But yeah.
That's good. And I understood that you got introduced to Arkio in like your education already. So that's
Yes,
an interesting story.
yes. Last year, in my second last semester at the Boston Architectural College, I was introduced to the software. So been becoming more and more familiar with it, and yeah.
It's great to hear. So yeah, Jason, how did XR become a part of the workflow in your organization?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been dreaming about this. So when I was in architecture school, it was the early 2000s, 2004 kind of zone. We've been dreaming about these things. We've been talking about caves. I don't know if you guys know about that, like multiple projection screens to walk through a space. Back then, headsets weren't really a thing. They did exist, but they weren't great. And this came about. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I had a Meta Quest 2, maybe I want to say 4 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever, when it first kind of came out. I saw Arkio, you guys were on there, but I didn't really know how to use it just yet because of Angela in our firm. She's like, I've been using this in school. We should try it out. This is actually really great. And it's the big problem with architecture is we're designing in 2D space, or we're designing with our hands in the computer. By the time you see something in construction, you might be lucky that 1 out of 5 projects you'll see it happen, kind of thing. Which is probably why a lot of architects we're usually so old by the time we're really good at what we do, is because to see it in person takes so long. This, in a way, expedites the experience significantly. So for my staff, they're all operating as really good designers because they know how large something needs to feel using headsets. And yeah, so I mean, it started out as like I was wishing that something like this would exist when I was in school. When it finally came along, and the headsets, I mean, they're expensive on one hand, but they're also not expensive on the other hand. So if you can get your hands on a MetaQuest 3 or 3S, you already have the tools to use this. So it doesn't take that much to kind of start up.
Yeah. And what problem were you trying to solve with Arkio initially?
Yeah. One big one is client expectations. Like that's the biggest. We're trying to present our designs so that clients understand things better. And we're really good at rendering things. We're really good at using other software like Enscape or Lumion, or there's all sorts of rendering software now that's really quick, produces really beautiful imagery, but those are still very flat. And those are in the computer screen or they're printed documents. You're not in the space as a human per se. It's more of like it's a picture. It's a snapshot of what a design could be. So having there was this problem where we would have clients, they would look at a floor plan and be like, oh, this is great. It checks all the boxes. And then all of a sudden during construction, this is now a couple months later, construction, they walk in, they're like, oh, it feels bigger than we expected, or it feels smaller than we expected. That gap is a big problem. Like we got in a lot of hot water with one client, a couple months back, where they walked into the space. We didn't use Arkio to present. They walked into the space and said, this feels too small. This isn't right. Check the dimensions. Our dimensions were bang on. The contractor built it exactly as we had all agreed to. Had we had done a walkthrough in Arkio, they would have known. They would have gotten the sense of the space and felt it. With those clients, they're very happy. We're actually going to bake it into their next location. So they're already aware that we're going to be using it to walk in the space in advance. Yeah.
So it helped bridging basically the conversation when talking about spatial quantities. Yeah. Did it help with anything else as well?
Yeah, it's all spatial is about height and width and things like that. We're trying to use it also to coordinate when there's conflicts. So like there's a pipe here, or, oh, don't forget in your ceiling, you're going to have this weird gap this happened actually middle of last year. We were working on an animal cancer clinic, and there was a spot where two ceilings were kind of a different height. And we, Angela, me, and actually Bernadette, 3 people were in the model, and we're all staring at this one corner. And it's like, what do we do? And we're looking at different options of how to deal with the ceiling in this weird knuckle that it's hard to see in the computer or hard to see on paper. So coordination of those little things, like it's easy to miss, but then once it's modeled and you're walking through it as a human, it's easy to pick out.
It's somehow easier, like it feels more natural to look around the corner and to perceive sizes and how visible certain problems would be.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And can you walk us through a typical Arkio workflow? Because you guys did some nice use cases recently, and
let's fire up. So I have video 1. If you can fire that up. So we use 360 cameras. We got one about now 3 years ago. This is a Ricoh Theta X. And through Matterport, we can create a digital twin. So this is we call it vanilla shell commercial space. Those are the clients there. And it gives us a scan of basically what's going on overall in the space. This is going to be the example project that I'll be presenting, just heads up. So in the space, we had to document in advance what this, what's in the space, all the pipes, all the conduit, electrical, all this kind of stuff. If you go to video 2, then we went into LiDAR scanning. So we've been using, so there's a thing called LiDAR. It's laser dots, millions of them happening almost every second, measuring a space. If you don't know what it is, you can pick one up like with an iPad Pro. They build them into the tablets now with the iPad Pro series specifically. So for like, I think actually 2.5 years, we've been using the iPad as our LiDAR system to measure really quick kind of digital twins. We now, in the end of last year, we have invested in an actual LiDAR piece of tech. There's different providers of that. And this gives us a really good, accurate digital model of what's there, what's existing. And so you can see this is the space and this is measurable. We bring it into Revit and we basically trace over what's been measured, what's been documented, so that our existing as-built set is like really, really accurate. That having been said, you don't need it like super accurate for design. If you're in schematic design, it's just figuring out space layout, things like that. But we've had this problem where our existing drawings weren't accurate enough, and we're designing where every millimeter matters. It can become an issue. So, so this is a bit of the LiDAR tech. If you can, it is quite expensive for the tech, but for cheap, you can get, it might be already in an iPad that your office has potentially. So I recommend everyone listening to look into that. There's a piece of software called Polycam that takes that model and creates a little digital twin. And so I want to dive into a typical, like what an old school white box massing walkthrough would have been. So we've taken the existing model, we've developed a design. And so this is the white box massing. Like typically we would have shown just this to the clients of like, okay, without any materials, this is where we're at with the design. This is of course a little further developed. We didn't use this method for this project. We used Arkio. So, but this is as an example. Like I had to remove all the ceiling. So you actually don't know what your ceiling height is because you won't be able to see into the model if the ceiling is there. Walking down the hall, 99% of our clients, at least 95% of our clients are not an architect, designer, builder, interior designer. They don't deal with 3D space in digital form or even in model form, in a little scale model. So explaining things of, how wide is this? Between the showers and the toilets, how wide is that hallway? And it's like, if we explain it as, 1,100 millimeters or 1,200 millimeters, it doesn't really help. It doesn't give them a sense of how wide that is. Then we have aspects of your in walls, or in a flash of an eye, you're switching spaces. So in a moment, yeah, now we're in a different space altogether. It's very disorienting as a presentation method. And it also isn't that helpful to show this as images, as 2D images, because then you're not walking through the space. You're not, so like, how do we bridge that gap kind of thing? So Arkio has this really cool function where you can pin your model in the actual space and walk through it live with the headset on. And we're going to show that now. This is now in the headset point of view. If you move very quickly, it becomes very transparent, so you know where you're looking. But this is in the head of one of our clients. She's walking through the space of the design. It's white box massing. We're not doing any materials, keeping it very simple. And she's seeing, oh, these are the showers. And see, there's a column to her right over there. Like, she's very close to physical space, but this is actually the design. This is like, there's a wall here. So she understands that, we can't magically have space here. This is a structural element.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is a little preview of what she sees. It's even better because, I mean, like in the headset, you can your eyes look all over the place. This is just one view from her headset straight on. You'll see she will thread the needle on the left there between that column and the wall through the design. And at the same time, so there's two clients to this. There's two partners. There's another partner that she's also, her headset's being set up on the other side of this column. Oh, there she is there. And she's co-located. It's a little bit off right now, but we're still working out that little bit. But she's in the space as well. It says Jason because it's under.
Yes.
But yeah, she's kind of walking the corner. We kept it the generic avatar. Let me play it again. We kept it the generic avatar. You could have an actual person if you want to spend the time on developing a human look. But I'm going to play this again because it's hard to explain how powerful this is. But the clients after this, they were so excited because they got to walk the future design.
You really see them experiencing and feeling the space and like play testing basically the spaces.
Yeah, exactly. And they get as excited as us about it. So it's just another level of them understanding what they're looking at.
Yeah, that's right.
And can you tell something about the process of like loading your models from Revit or
actually I'll throw it
to Arkio and locking them in place?
Yeah, I'll throw it to Angela for that because it is a cloud-based system. So
yeah, so if you are familiar with Arkio, they do have a cloud-based kind of system where you can drop in files, whether it's SketchUp, Rhino, Revit. There's lots of different 3D softwares that Arkio accepts. In our office, we use SketchUp and Revit. So typically right now, what I've been finding is that the SketchUp export is kind of the best one to work with. So what I do is we work primarily in Revit first to document, as Jason was saying, drawing everything out, making sure the layout looks right. From there, I would export to SketchUp, and then in SketchUp, the Arkio plugin exists. So you kind of just very easily drop it into the Arkio cloud. And then from there, you now then have it in the headset. Once it's kind of in there, I usually typically always do a little walkthrough to make sure everything looks right. If a wall is kind of not looking right or there's missing ceiling somewhere, I try to fix those errors before showing it to the client so that they're not confused about what they're looking at. But once the model is fully ready to go, then once we are in the space, you are able to lock your position in Arkio. So there's two ways of using Arkio if you're familiar. One way is just kind of sort of like a video game I like to think of, where you're just kind of using the joysticks to kind of move yourself around and teleport through the model. But then when you're on site, you kind of actually want to walk through it as you're seeing in the video. So there's something called locking in place. So what I would do is I'd put the headset on, load in the model. Once it's in there, I would then find a point of reference. In this case, the best point of reference was always the columns because I knew those were pretty set. And I would approach that column, lock it in place, and kind of move around slowly to sort of see the transparency of where the column is and where I am. And once I was happy with that, locking it in place. And then as Jason mentioned, we did happen to use the co-locating for this project as well, since there were 2 clients. And that helped a lot because then they were able to see each other and able to actually hear each other on the mics. At one point in time, one of the clients was on one side of the room, another client was on the other side of the room, and they could still hear each other through the mic, because even though they were talking very next to Jason and myself on opposite sides of the room, they were able to communicate. But yeah, and then once it's locked into place, you're free to walk through, and that's what we did for this project.
You can see in the next video in video 5 there.
It's good to mention also, like here, the locking, basically the loading of the model happens, it can happen fully offline, but you needed an internet connection for the collocation to work.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
How did you guys solve that?
Oh, we use a hotspot. So we use the hotspot on our phone. Luckily, the phones, they're pretty fast. I think it's Wi-Fi 5 as the system. So I'm on a Samsung, Angela's on an Apple iPhone. We use my Samsung for it, but it could have been either or, and basically hotspotted as a central node for the headsets. And that is like, it was a little tricky at first. We got it set up later on, and it was fine. It's just that's one thing. It's just like, how do you set up a Wi-Fi system in a mobile location? Yeah.
And one thing I will add is, though we did test this Arkio stuff twice with the clients in 2 different rounds of design. And as Jason mentioned, we did have troubles co-locating the first time we went. But because Arkio saves all your models as long as you load them within each headset, we were able to still locate or lock our positions down in both headsets the first time around. So even though they weren't walking in the space together, both spaces were locked and both clients were still able to experience the same thing.
Yeah. If you play video 5, people will get a sense of what that kind of looks like. And we recommend having a staff member with the client or whoever's in the headset, just in case something gets a little bit off, they're not walking into a wall or something like that. It's pretty good with the safety features, but like going transparent and things like that. But this gives you a sense of the two clients. There's Angela. Now she's handing over the headset to one of the clients after she's pinned the model down. And yeah, that's in general how we set up for something like this.
It's good to see. So the preparation for this, do you practice this before you do this live with the client? Like, do you go to the site?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we got to the site a little bit early. This one, I think we were 20 minutes early to set things up. But then back at the office too, we also field tested, just making sure that the co-locating was working. I mean, overall, it's maybe an hour of prep beforehand to make sure it's all kind of ready to go. And in general, as an office, every Friday, we have a meeting, an Arkio headset meeting where we're trying different models. So we, like with the clients, we definitely don't want to be doing this for the first time with clients. It needs to feel like orchestrated or there's theatricality to it to present a design. So it's important that we've tested it in the office. We've tested it in multiple ways before we kind of dive in on site with the client live. That's very, very important. Because nobody looks good if we're just kind of scrambling.
It does make the experience smoother from the start, indeed, like to test things. And also, like, does it help there to like look at your model already before your client looks? Do you sometimes spot things that you didn't know even were in the model?
Well, we would actually just try to showcase the design with the client for them the first time. And there are a number of things like countertop height. They're like, oh, this is too high or this is too low. That came up. Shelf height, like where their merchandise for this client, like where their merchandise would exist. For this is a hot yoga station, and Pilates studio. And the mats, they were looking at, the distance between people. Those are, little things that are actually quite important. Yeah.
Okay. So if you would say, like Arkio, where does it best fit in your design process? Is it in a certain stage of the design, or is it throughout various stages?
Well, Angela, you can also speak to this, but I think it's the start of the design, at the intro. Like the part of the problem is a all the computing is happening in the headset for Arkio. So to get it hyper realistic, that's asking too much of the Quest system. So it is white box massing or lightly textured kind of rendering. So we use it as spatial, typically as early schematic spatial exploration, rather than super detailed texture material kind of exploration.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think at the schematic design phase, whether it's to showcase it to the client, like in this case study, or internally, myself and Jason try to meet weekly about this, and we might load in one of our projects and just teleport through it. But we can at least analyze and discuss the design and change it as needed based on just kind of using Arkio as a reviewing tool, like an internal tool. But definitely that, yeah, typically happens near the beginning of the project where we're really just trying to figure out layout and what feels right, what doesn't feel right. So yeah, I would say early on.
Yeah, and there's a question here about modeling tools. So Johan, if you could click on my share screen to allow that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know when you guys
need to. Yeah, let's remove this one.
There we go. Yeah. So this is a different project that we worked on in the middle of last year. It's the animal cancer clinic, and we're deciding where to put fire extinguishers that need to be within visual range. So that's this kind of red blocks. And as we were walking through, we're like, oh, there's a whole bank of upper cabinets on this other wall over here. So live together, this is actually me, Angela, and actually Bernadette is in the model too. She's going around in a different area. All three of us are working remotely. So this is a different scenario where three people are working in different locations in the same virtual space, modeling things. That's Bernadette. It's actually, she's rendered as me because it's under our account. But, and then, yeah, there's a bank of upper cabinets, and Angela is live modeling it in the space as all three of us are together remotely in different parts. So like, two people are working from home, I'm in the office. So that's another powerful thing too. It would be very difficult to do something like this without the headsets and Arkio, like to remember something that exists, and then it found its way into the interior elevations. So yeah, this is a little example of that.
So you could say it changed a bit already how you guys communicate internally and also externally.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
in both capacities for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you're thinking about like Arkio usage and like with some of these things in mind, are you like excited about some of the like other features that we have that you want to explore more?
I mean, for us, the big one is now doing this with clients in the space, modeling with them. We haven't found a way to fully introduce that yet, but that's our next thing that we're really excited about. I know that you guys are beta, like there's a lot of rendering things that are coming out of Arkio that are upcoming that or have been newly released that we test. Yeah,
yes,
maybe.
Yeah. We have a couple of things up in the pipeline, and like wanted to not go too deep in that for this conversation because this is more about the use case. So I think it's first maybe a good idea to like have a bit of a QA, and because I see some people already put some questions in for our like beloved audience. So if you guys have any other questions, just put them in the chat, and we're going to just go through some of these. So yes, like there's some people that have questions about locking and pinning. Like just, I think Angela, you've been using this a bit, like the bracelet. Can you maybe explain that too?
Yes, yeah, for sure. So when locking in position, I did see a comment about drift. It did happen. It does happen sometimes with the models. You know, in those cases, we typically just kind of take the headset off the client in that moment, repin, and it sort of just works fine. We do notice also when we're kind of in it together, myself and Jason, we try to really gauge how far off the co-locating is. Sometimes when we're getting really close to each other, the co-location kind of separates a lot more. So it's that sort of little detail of the drift, but you kind of get used to it and you kind of work around it. I would say that in all cases, for sure, if you are doing mixed reality, always make sure to lock yourself in place, even if it's just you in the model. It's just better to lock it. That way, if for some reason you switch your scale and you're in God mode, you can instantly kind of come back to where Arkio thinks you are in the model. But yeah, I think in terms of locking, there is some fidgeting sometimes with it, but overall, once you get the hang of it, like I said, the best way to lock is just finding a really good point of reference. Let that be, a wall or a column or something that's really fixed in the space that you know for sure is accurate from your model, and then sort of go from there. And when you're locking as well, other things you can notice is that if your model is off and you're trying to pin it into the space, then you start to realize, oh, you know what, my column is, XYZ off, and I need to fix it in the model before I show the clients, for example.
There was another thing though, that we wanted whoever was going to be in the model to be in it early to co-locate properly with everyone. There was a time where we tested it and I came in late and I was in a wrong spot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's always good indeed to test. Like if you have challenging conditions, like we notice some outdoors places that have like a lot of repeating elements, like trees or water views. It often has a bit more difficulty there with the headset. Mm-hmm. Like the tracking system of the Quest, it can be made more predictable and more reliable by having good lighting conditions and more unique environments. Like often you don't have full like control over those environments, but it then help in that case to just look at like what can I do in that location? Maybe I can put some peons or some other things there to keep the tracking better. Another thing is the headsets are rated for like around 20 meters, and after that they start drifting a bit. So in any time if you are experiencing drift when you're walking longer distances, it's always a good practice to just unlock yourself a bit and just make a slight adjustment, because you can always lock and unlock yourself if you want to correct some of these drifting things in the headset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. We have some other questions in there as well. Do you ever use the modeling tools with clients? Well, you basically said that's the ambition. That's we basically covered that one already. Like, would you see that as massing, like with the client, or moving things around with the clients?
Both. It would be both. Yeah.
Yeah, ideally both. I think something I would be excited to or interested to see if Arkio can sort of kind of develop in that way is if there is ways that we can move things that we've modeled. Say the model is coming from Revit and that Revit model has a dining table, for example, and we would like to move that dining room table. Currently, you kind of had to draw a new dining room table to move it. So if we could use the native Revit one to just kind of move it from place to place, I think that would be a big step in the right direction of like being able to walk into a space with a client and be able to make those kind of adjustments quickly. But yeah, for now, we would use the modeling tools, whether it's just a simple box or the native kind of like assets that Arkio has to sort of try and mimic the movement for now.
So we have some exciting news coming up, because we do have, like we're working on this particular feature of moving the individual Revit families, the SketchUp components, and you can select which objects you want to have movable in Arkio.
Oh, great.
So that will be coming up for our next version already. And
I think that for clients would be a game changer if we're walking through it, and there needs to be a slight adjustment. If we have that capability, well, that would be the best. Yeah, ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. So I see some other questions. Like, is there a favorite workflow to model, like to get your models to Arkio in a shared environment? I mean, there's several ways, I guess, to get your models to Arkio. You mentioned the Arkio Cloud,
yes.
Angela.
Yeah, I typically use the Arkio Cloud. I think it's the easiest way to kind of also hop through devices. Like I have Arkio on my iPad. I have Arkio on our desktops here at the office. I have them on the headset. So being able to sort of use the cloud, load it into the cloud, and be able to open it on pretty much all those devices at once, it's really helpful and quick, I find. And in terms of exporting, like I said, I find currently the Revit to SketchUp to Arkio works kind of the best. But I have done Revit to Arkio as well, and it's pretty good. But yeah, typically it's Revit, SketchUp, then SketchUp to Arkio.
Okay. And I see there's a bit more of a technical question. I think like when you're adding basically a Revit model, you can change that model, but you can add things to it. So that's basically what we just discussed a bit. Like we will have a feature soon where you can control also the individual families that you want to have movable in Revit. So that hopefully should solve that question. The idea with Arkio is that whatever you're adding in the model, so if you're doing ideation on the model, that geometry can also be exported back to your original tool. So that's an important part of the workflow, that the ideas that you had can also be coming back to your original tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is like these are most of the questions. Like, will Apple provision work? I don't understand that question necessarily, but
I don't think you guys are on Apple, like the
Apple Vision
Pro Vision.
That's what they mean. Yes. So we are currently not on it, but we are looking into it. Like, we're currently making some simplifications and cleanups on the system to make Arkio more portable for all sorts of devices and headsets, including the Apple Vision Pro. So that is something that can be expected in the coming months.
The irony for us is, like, the Pro Vision is so expensive and it's hard to get a couple of those in an office. We want multiple people in the model. So to have 3 people to have a Pro Vision, that's a lot to ask. And we're also we're Revit or we're Autodesk based, which is kind of better on a Windows system currently. Still, unfortunately.
It's a lovely device, but it is a bit harder to share that device also. Like it's more like a personalized device, and I find the Quest device also an easier device to share with.
That's right.
Agree. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm just going to wrap it up also a bit from here. So I'm getting a bit quite. You can see me now. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here today, and especially thanks for Jason and Angela for like being with us and sharing all this this great work you guys are doing. Like this is really inspiring, and I think hopefully for other users also to see this in action. And it's exciting to see also, like, it aligns a bit with what we are thinking of. It aligns with what you guys want to do. So that's all good to hear. So for everyone that is attending today's session and saw some of these videos and things, like, what we can recommend is just to try this out for yourself, because it's different from seeing a video of someone walking around in 3D space versus experiencing this yourself. So if you have access to a Quest 3 device or Quest 3S device, you can go to our website, arkio.is. We also recently updated our website. We have introduced a new help center and a friendly bot to help you with any questions you might have about Arkio. And that bot can be great also for getting to learn about some of the features that we just showed here today. So you can please go check that out. On our website, we also have a new feedback session, and that's where you can suggest features for Arkio. I've seen some feature suggestions already coming in the chat, and you can even vote for them. So we have plans to make our development roadmaps and our feature requests more open, and that's something that we want to do with those new website updates. So please visit it there and let us know what you guys think. I think that's it. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and I'll hope to see everyone again next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.